Hi everyone, my name is Aman Batra. My teammates are Crains, Madhunil, and Shagun, and today we are going to present our project, generating 2D mazes using shortest path algorithms and finding the optimal solution with search algorithms. So this is how we have divided the work among us. I will be presenting the randomized version of Kruskal for maze generation. Cranes will present the DFS approach to solve the maze. Madhunil will be presenting the BFS approach to solve the maze, and Shagun will be presenting a comparison of the algorithms and concluding remarks. So I'll quickly go over what we have decided to cover today in this presentation. So first will be the problem statement and inspiration for the project. In analysis, we will be dealing with algorithmic modeling of the problem, randomized Kruskal's algorithm, BFS and DFS approach, and then optimal algorithm to create a maze and solve a maze. Then we'll talk a bit about weaknesses and strengths and what we've learned so far. So just like physical mazes, digital mazes can be thought of as a collection of coordinate points in a 2D plane. So considering this, it is designed to be used by a person or a computer program that can see the whole maze at once. This is our assumption. So the first part of our problem statement is we need to implement an algorithm which was covered in our algorithms class. So the algorithm should be capable of somehow creating mazes of a supplied dimension. The second part of the problem is using another search algorithm which was taught in our class to solve this maze that we just generated in a very efficient manner. So the inspiration for this particular problem came from multiple sources. So mazes can be entertaining and educational. By modeling the maze problem, we aim to get a better understanding of how these amazing algorithms can be put to use in real world, for example, in arcade games and such. So with mazes, people can get better at planning and brainstorming various strategies. Um, this is more for teenagers and children. So the second advantage of mazes is they give us a sense of spatial representation and they help us develop orientation. And we can scan multiple complex environments and memorize paths uh, if we are good with recognizing mazes. So as I told earlier, each cell inside a maze can be considered as a coordinate point, and we can think of an adjacency list which keeps basically a list of all the neighbors to a particular cell. So it forms kind of a grid which can be thought of as a maze. So you can think of it as a hash map where key is the coordinate point and values is the list of neighbors. So using this approach, we can generate MST using Kruskal. So maze solving algorithms are quite closely related to graph theory. Intuitively, if one pulled out and stretch out the paths in a maze in the proper way, the result will assemble a tree. So MST gives us like the tree that is needed to form a maze. For example, from a maze, we can abstract the length and connectedness of the corridors. This is the only thing that we need to know, which crossings are connected with which other crossings. So MST does a pretty good job of doing this. This is why we are using Kruskal to generate the MST. So the randomized version of Kruskal is basically like you need to put all the edges in a graph into a set or array list. You can assign any arbitrary weight to the edges, or you can like basically make all the weights same. Then you can pick an edge randomly from the set instead of like picking the edge with lowest cost. We do this randomly because it helps us in creating random walls for the maze. So now if the edge that we picked up, if this edge connects two disjoint trees, then we join the trees. Otherwise, we just discard the edge. And we keep repeating these steps until we have no more edges left. Then we will have something that looks like this. So here we have this entire purple path. It's an MSC that we just generated with Cruscal. And with programming bits, we will add a few doors in the mazes. So the blue door is the entry door, and pink doors are the exit doors. So such a maze can be solved with multiple strategies. So you can use depth first search, breadth first search.
Hi. So, as suggested by my teammate Aman, the following strategies can be used to solve the maze. So, the strategies are depth first search, breadth first search, and A-star algorithm. So, I am here, Madhunil, to explain about the breadth first search algorithm. So, breadth first search is an algorithm which is often used to search the target node of a tree by traversing all the nodes in a given level, then moving on to the next level until the target node is found. We start traversing from a selected node, which is usually the root node of a graph, and then we proceed layer wise. Think of a maze as a graph and exit door as a target node of BFS. With BFS, it is guaranteed that we will find the target node in one of the levels. Hence, it guarantees us a solution to the maze. For maze particularly, breadth first search has a much higher average number of nodes. Like breadth first search generally checks higher number of nodes than DFS generally. Uh, so here, as we see, the BFS algorithm manages to find the exist by traversing and covering all the possible paths by taking the breadth first approach. So by this, the chances of getting the maze solved is higher, and we have managed, as we have managed to cover all the possible exits. Uh, we have made sure that the maze will be solved by BFS algorithm. But in course of this, we have also caused also caused a blockade on all three exits, and this on the in the same time will increase the space complexity. And then finally, we will see a BFS runtime and space complexity. The best case for BFS runtime is O log 1. O1, and the worst case is ON, which is a linear time, and the space complexity of the BFS algorithm increases with exponentially with levels, and the best case we have here is a constant time of O1. Thank you.
Hello everyone. My name is Crains and I'm going to present about the depth first search for solving the maze as mentioned by my friend Madhunil. So let us see what depth first search is. So depth first search, also known as DFS, is an algorithm that follows a path as far as it can until it either reaches the target search node or has nowhere else to go. It's almost like running as far as you can in one direction until you hit a wall inside a maze. Unlike BFS, it does not guarantee a solution. For example, imagine the traversal getting stuck in a circular path. While DFS guarantees linear time, it doesn't guarantee a solution like BFS. It can be faster at times and takes less space as compared to most other traversal algorithms. DFS explores the branches instead of levels in a tree. It doesn't follow a layered trend. Instead, it starts from the root node or starting point and stops when it reaches the leaf node. If it sees a path as visited, the algorithm backtracks and takes a different path. So this is how DFS solves an algorithm. Now let us have a look at how it solves the maze as in our case, which is the required case here. So as you can see in the image, with DFS, the maze algorithm would make random choices so many times until it reaches the end point or reaches a dead end. There would be a sequence of choices that produces a particular path from the first choice to the last choice. If it reaches a dead end, it would change the last choice first, and only after it had examined all the choices made in the last part and not succeeded, would it revert the last choice and go back to the choice earlier in the sequence? It would do this iteratively. It means that it would produce a series of paths which would change rapidly in the end, but their beginning would change slowly. It will go through all the possible paths and find a correct one. So as seen in the image, the in our case we got lucky and we got the correct solution in a few traversals. So that is the best part for DFS, that there is a possibility of getting the solution in very few trials. So that is how DFS solves this algorithm. You can see that in the image. Now let us look at the time complexity and space complexity of DFS. So the runtime for the runtime best case complexity is O of 1. The average case complexity is linear, which is O of n, and the worst case complexity is also O of n. So yeah, it's not like the best case complexity is better than BFS, as you can see here. The space complexity increases exponentially with levels. So for the best case, the time complexity is O of 1, and for the worst case, the time complexity is O of n. So yeah, thank you.
A comparison of maze solving algorithms. BFS generally uses more memory because multiple paths are stored in the memory at the same time. But DFS only needs to keep track of a single path at any given time, so it uses less memory. For more general grids, it is much less obvious which one will be better in terms of memory, especially when considering how to keep track of cells we have visited, thus, far to prevent repeatedly visiting cells. So we see that most algorithms such as BFS, DFS, and A star seem to have a similar running time, which is big O of V plus E, which is basically big O of N. But each algorithm offers a different advantage over the other. At the end, it is up to user requirements and preferences. Optimal algorithms to generate a maze. Uh, so we see that figuring out an optimal algorithm to create a maze is a tricky task, as it depends on what the solver can see and what they need from a maze. There are factors such as shape, size, texture, dimension, routing, sparseness, and perfectness of the maze. We stumbled upon a research that compared most used six maze generation algorithms, which is the Prim, Kruskal, Aldous Border, Wilson, Hunt and Kill, and Recursive Backtrack. Our choice of algorithm is Kruskal because it has necessarily the same performance as Prim's, and it uses MST along with a random function, which is comparatively easier to implement since we have studied in our class CS5800. Now further, we conclude algorithms to solve a maze. Breadth first search is necessarily a blind algorithm and is called blind because it does not care about the cost between vertices on the graph. Hence, we may end up with a very high cost. But it gives us a guaranteed solution, which means if there exists a way outside of the maze, the BFS will find it in a short span of time. Hence, it will be the algorithm of our choice. Exhaustive graph search algorithms such as BFS and DFS work wonders for smaller mazes, but they become infeasible for huge mazes. A search algorithm has to consider trillions of potential paths in the maze until it may eventually find the exit way or solution. This is where historic search like A star may help by directing search efforts in the right direction, which we have left for further work in the project. What we learned from this project, we saw the analysis of search algorithms such as BFS, DFS, and A star, the application of algorithms in gaming, more specifically arcade games such as puzzles, algorithms put to use in real life, such as Google Maps, which can be thought of an extended application of shortest path algorithms and MST. And then we finally see how to effectively and efficiently communicate, and collaborate in an online class setting. Thank you. Please leave any of your questions or comments. Thanks.